Could this be a forgotten brand when we think of premium golf balls? Today, we're talking about the Wilson Staff, the Triad Golf Ball. Just before we get stuck into the Wilson Staff Triad review, guys, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. It's totally free to do. There's loads of videos to help and improve your games and also enjoy me hacking it around a golf course. Let's get stuck into this review. So we recently reviewed the Kirkland Signature V3, and in that video I mentioned the Wilson Staff Triad Golf Ball, and you watching at home left us loads of comments saying you wanted to put it through its paces and us to review this golf ball. Well, today that's happening. So when we think of the premium golf ball bracket, we probably think of brands like TaylorMade, Titleist, Callaway, and Wilson Staff generally won't spring to mind. But does that mean that they're not actually any good? Also, if you're not looking for a ball that is in the premium golf ball bracket, I do have one that I want to let you know about later on in this video that could fit your budget and still perform pretty well. So a little bit about the golf ball before we actually get stuck into the review. It's a three-piece golf ball. It has a urethane cover, which we see from all other premium tour golf balls. It's got a high moment of inertia. Again, we see this in other premium balls. It's all about getting distance off the tee and that spin with the premium urethane cover. It also has tri-balance weighting, which means, and what it says, weight move from the core to the mantle and covers to create a uniform density throughout all three layers. This eliminates heavy spots for pinpoint accuracy and straighter putts. With this tri-balance weighting effect that they've put into the Wilson Staff Triad, we should see now that we're hitting it a little bit straighter, we're holding a few more putts, plus the added benefit of distance with that core and also the feel from the urethane cover. So I want to do a few things with this golf ball. For me, there's three things that have to stand up when you get into the premium golf ball bracket. Number one, and I think this is the one where if you don't have this, it all falls down, and that is distance. If you're not getting the distance off the tee, especially, or you're not getting the distance with your irons, you're probably going to push this ball straight out and revert back to something like the Pro V1, because that is just what we turn to when we think of premium golf balls. Secondly, I want to know what its durability is like, because these balls actually come in a little bit cheaper than some of the other premium offerings. They're $32.99 as opposed to a Pro V1 for a dozen that is $47.99. So you're saving yourself £15 per dozen. But does that matter if you're actually going through them at a faster rate, because the core and the cover are just shredding apart, and it means you have to change your golf ball more frequently, thus spending more money? And then also, I want to know what they feel like and sound like, because as you get into this premium golf ball bracket, those three things are most important. If you don't tick those boxes, like I said earlier, you're probably just going to move away and think, no, it doesn't cut the mustard, I'm going back to Pro V1. So we're going to head out onto the chipping green just to give it an initial test with the chips, with the putts, and also hit some shots around the golf course just to identify what it's actually feeling like and sounding like before we actually get any numbers on this golf ball. So I'm quite happy to say that this is probably one of the better feeling golf balls that I've tried. Now, when we think of feeling, we link that straight to sound, and it doesn't sound too harsh, which I really like. If a ball sounds almost too much like a stone or rocky or firm, I don't like that. It sort of translates into a harsher feeling for me as well. This one, it's somewhere in the middle of a really soft golf ball and that really firm feeling golf ball. Sits perfectly in the middle, which when you get that feel from it and you get that sound from it, for me, that was really, really nice. And as well, when I'm chipping with it, I feel like I can almost feel the cover of the golf ball just sticking to the grooves a little bit longer. It doesn't feel like it's springing off, and it doesn't feel like it's slipping off the face. And even when I was chipping around the greens, that was quite evident. I was noticing, yes, it was a little bit soft, but I was still getting shots that were stopping quick. And even with some longer shots that I was hitting, I was noticing that maybe a mid-iron was actually spinning back. Again, the greens were a little bit soft, but I was noticing that I got that feel, that good solid sort of softishy firm feel to it, but then when it's landing, I'm still getting that reaction, and it's not just springing off and running down the green. So on the feel side, and even when I've had some putts with it, again, it comes back to that. It feels like it's a pretty good golf ball and stands up to any of the others. I would probably put it around a TP5 feel, I would say. It would feel something like a TaylorMade TP5. It's not quite like a Chrome Soft X or a Pro V1 or the TaylorMade TP5X. It's sitting round about that TP5 feel and sound is where I would put it in amongst those golf balls. And following on from that feel, one thing that I wanted to test, and one thing that you can always get an idea of what the cover actually feels like, is when you just give the ball a little bounce on the club, but also give it a little bite or try and dig your thumbnail into the cover. If it feels really firm, you would imagine you're going to get that firm feel from it. But from this one, it felt like there was a little give there. And that's interesting because when we think of where this golf ball, where we first mentioned it in the Kirkland Signature V3 review, when I did a similar thing, the durability did not stand up on that golf ball. It was getting torn to shreds, and this cover feels very much like that. It does feel like there's a little bit of play when you bite it and dig that thumbnail in. So I want to hit 10 shots from the bunker to try and understand what the durability is like of the Wilson Staff Triad. Now, I'm happy to say this Wilson Staff Triad golf ball in the durability test is probably the best we have ever seen. It was very hard to actually try and find a scuff on the golf ball. I hit 10 shots there. There's obviously sand on the face and there's sand on the golf ball when we're doing this because we're using the same golf ball. And it was hard to identify any scuffs or scratches or big gouges on the ball. There was maybe a slight abrasion on there, but it's great to see that after 10 shots compared to something like the Kirkland Signature V3, it has totally eclipsed that in terms of its durability. It's got nothing to it, so that saving of £15, I'm glad to see that the ball isn't falling to pieces after a couple of shots. I would have to change it. So now it all comes down to what it is like with the driver and with a 7-iron to see what that distance is like. I did mention another golf ball earlier in the video as well, that if you're not into premium golf balls, maybe you're someone who's just starting out or you don't want to spend the sort of money that it would be to get a premium golf ball, why not take a look at another ball that comes from the Wilson Staff family, which is the Duo Plus golf ball. I've had a look around online and throughout different retailers and even in pro shops throughout the country in the UK, these golf balls are averaging about $14.99 per dozen. Still a good feeling golf ball, still performs well. And for that golfer that's maybe going through golf balls at quite a fast pace because you're losing a lot, or maybe you're just getting into it, or a slightly higher handicapper and you don't really need or want the benefits of what a premium golf ball would offer, for £15, those golf balls are ones that I would highly recommend going to actually try and see if they improve your game. So the distance, as I said earlier, comes down to those three categories, and thus far, the feel and the sound, it's got a pass on that from me. When we get to durability, we've just found out it's got a big pass, probably the best we've ever seen from a golf ball when we've done that test. But how did it stack up when we used it in the simulator, hitting some shots? It was quite interesting actually, because with a 7-iron, it came out a little bit shorter than what I was expecting. Now, I will preface this with, I didn't strike these irons as good as I would normally do. There was quite a few shots hit, to be fair. Overall, I would probably say my strike percentage would be at about 70%, 65%. Normally it maybe be into the 80s, 85%. But from there, we saw that it carried 169 yards. So normally for a 7-iron, I would be looking to carry the golf ball 180 yards, which we've seen from other premium golf balls. So 11 yards shorter, but I've got that strike issue in there, so a little bit down. The spin was a little bit lower than what I would expect as well. But how did it stack up with driver? Because knowing this now, this is the one category, like I said earlier, distance. If this isn't right, that durability and that feel, if it's not got the distance with the driver, forget it. But it actually came in identical to what I've been hitting the Pro V1 of late. 288 yards with a spin that's in the mid 2000s. That is pretty much spot on for where I would want to see my driver going at the minute. I hit these well, and also we alluded to earlier the tri-balance weighting, and I'm not saying that it made me super straight, and I could definitely tell that there was a lot of a straighter shots there, but even out on the golf course when I was testing it and some in the sim, it did seem to be that I felt like I was a little bit straighter. I would say it would probably take maybe a couple of months of me actually playing consistently with this golf ball to see whether it actually comes out straighter and I'm actually hitting more fairways. So that might be a fun test for me to do, to actually play with this and see if I do improve the fairways hit. But overall, 288 with a driver, matching where I am with a Pro V1 is a big tick for me. That 7-iron could be improved, so I'd have to do a little bit more testing on that. But overall, a ball that's costing $32.99 from a brand that we may forget about when we think of premium golf balls, I would say it's definitely one that you should go out and try, because it could be the golf ball that suits you. So I hope you've enjoyed that video, guys. Make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. Also check out one of the other videos. We've got some other reviews of equipment, and also check out that other golf ball that we mentioned if premium ones aren't for you. See you in the next video.